So today we're starting with the second half of the signs of the zodiac. We went on and we looked at the main experiential categories, which aren't usually added in astrology, but they're really the vital factors of daylight increasing, nighttime increasing, daylight is greater, nighttime is greater, and they create the definition of 4 seasons with a sense of what the energy means, of moving towards a bit more independence or freedom or doing our own thing, of moving to belong more, to be part of a team, to be part of a bigger situation, to be, and to do that we need to be sensitive to others and be more responsible to others. So across the zodiac, we do have the balance of freedom and responsibility. So each sign has a distinctly different relationship to freedom and to responsibility, and it shows the direction that soul comes into life, and it shows the direction that life force is moving in. So it's simple, but it's very useful. When you just any chart you look at, if you start seeing the daylight is greater, nighttime is greater, moving towards freedom or towards responsibility, or being daylight is greater, being more independent, being more belonging, these are just key factors. So it keeps dividing, like genealogy, have one half, 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16, 32. It keeps dividing by halves, this genealogical or natural system. So here we had the colors thrown in, and we could see the seasons of the year put in with the 4 categories as to how far we've come, what we covered last week. Now, so from looking at the 4 seasons, there's a further distinction I want you to see. We're going to deal with this much more at the 8th level, but this is still useful to know. Each season can divide in half, which divides in the middle of the fixed signs. And that division, there's a light half and a dark half to each season. So if you take each season, Capricorn, if you take winter, Capricorn's more responsible and more serious than Pisces. Pisces is in the light half of winter, Capricorn's in the dark half of winter, and Aquarius is a bit of both. It has half of the first half of Aquarius is the dark half of winter, the last half is the light half, and these can be seen, these differences can be seen, the first half of the fixed sign and the second half of the fixed sign. So this is another division that comes in naturally and is useful to know. So just like Aries is the dark half of spring and Gemini is the bright half of spring. So daylight's increasing, daylight's greater for both of them, but Aries, its daylight is just a little bit more than darkness. So even though it's springtime, it can still be a little cold or wet, and it's Aries at the same time may be independent, but they're often a little bit insecure and are impulsive to overcome that insecurity. Whereas the Geminis are the most extreme. They got their ideas, they act on ideas, they go on it immediately. They don't even question themselves. They're on, I'm doing my thing, and on go. So, and the first half of Taurus is a little bit more impulsive, and the second half is a little more blatant, a little bit more blatantly independent. So these are the two. This little division for each of the seasons is useful to know. The first half of summer, Cancer is the most independent. Cancers have their own home, their own way, their own feelings. They're very strong in there. They have their sensitivity, but they're strong in it. Whereas Virgos, the dark half of summer, would be much more self-critical and much more, a little less independent, a little more critical of themselves. And Leos, the first half of Leo, would have the sort of gentle, have the independent side, but want their own feelings and want to feel secure. The second half can be a little bit more analytical or critical or maybe even arrogant, but there's a little bit more discrimination would come against the last second half of Leo. In the fall, you have the light half and the dark half of the fall. Libra is on the light half. So Libra is a little more indecisive. This is me, this is you, can we share, can we do things? So the indecisives with Leos, Libras, they're looking for the relationship, but not totally confident in it. They're dreaming for it, they're going for it, but they're still a bit of a strong individual. So they're not so sure how they're fitting in exactly. So they want to be appreciated or encouraged. Whereas Sag, they have the strongest social sense. They have a sense of where everyone is, where they fit in, where it's going. They're the most, they clue into who's together, who's not together, who's responsible, who's not. They have this instant overview of what's right and what's wrong. So the Scorpio is in between that. The first half of Scorpio is a little more Libra-like. They want a little bit more appreciation. They want to be liked. The second half of Scorpio is a little more judgmental about what's right and wrong socially, how people are getting who's right, who's wrong, and gets pulled into group responsibilities a little bit more. So this is a simple category. It's each season has a light and a dark half. And the darkest point is the solstice. So the half of the season that's closest to winter, that's the dark half. The half of the season that's closest to summer, that's the light half. This middle point at 45 degrees of the fixed signs, it's this gets into a little bit of a spiritual dialogue, but I'll just spend a little bit of time on it. Most of the Christian and mystical holidays will happen on the equinoxes or the solstices. In the lunar calendar, there'll be other ones added in for the new moons and full moons, but essentially in the year, the equinoxes and the solstices are the key determinations of the spiritual holidays. But at the middle of the fixed signs, so the energy is generated at the beginning of each season. The energy of each season is started. That's a powerful point. But the middle of the fixed signs, that energy is concentrated down into the world. Like a lot, it's made as fixed. It drives right down to planted into the world. So these are you'll see little dark points at the 4 Wiccan holidays, and are at the points where the energy comes down into the world most. And that's in the middle of Taurus, middle of Leo, Beltane, Lammas, Samhain, Halloween, Imbolc or Candlemas. This is in the middle of Aquarius. So you have a pulsing, even within the zodiac, when it's used for calendars or for mystical things. At the equinoxes, the solstices are usually the spiritual dynamic points. At the middle of the fixed signs are the earthly, ceremonial, experiential, physical holidays. So, okay. But the main point I want to get, that's a side issue. The main point I want you to think is have a category in your mind of the light or the dark half of each season. So you can basically see if in the winter daylight's increasing but nighttime is greater. So these are individuals trying to emerge out of social situations to be a little bit more free, to get a little bit more independence. So Capricorns, Aquarius, and Pisces are all included in that. Capricorns are the greatest darkness. They're the most listening, the most cautious, most sensitive ones to being responsible, sensitive to responsibilities. Whereas Pisces, it's the light half of winter, and they're a bit more independent. They'll push responsibilities this way or that way as best they can. They'll still try to take care of it, but they're trying to make it work in their way a little bit more. So each of this parallel, it just helps clarify a distinction between each of the signs. So and it shows a difference between the first half and the last half of each of the fixed signs. So what this means is the beginning of each season, the beginning of the cardinal signs are the strongest point. The middle of the fixed signs are the strongest point. The end of the immutable signs is the most mutable. So these 8 points are the most predominant points in a cycle, the 8 phases of the moon, the 8 seasons, 8 phases or 8 portions of the seasons of the year. Okay. I meant to put this in last week on the last one, but it was just to complete the logic of the light and the dark. This can keep going up, and it keeps going up to 16 divisions, 32 divisions, 64 divisions, and that's where the I Ching coincides with the zodiac. So here we are back where we left off last week, and we have the 4 seasons just put in. And now the next category is masculine, feminine. Every other sign, as you go along, the fire and the air signs, each of the other signs the fire and the air signs are all masculine signs, so there's a plus on them. So Aquarius is masculine air, Aries is masculine fire, Gemini is masculine air, Leo's masculine fire, Libra's masculine air, Sagittarius masculine fire. So these fire and air signs, these masculine signs, they're the signs they project their energy. So if someone's trying to be more independent and they're trying to be more independent, daily is increasing and daily is increasing and it's greater, you're in springtime, and Aries and Gemini will project. Tauruses are a little bit more reflective, but the projecting signs will have to push to get their points. They'll push to make something happen. They're not going to be quite as patient. They're a little bit more projecting. So this projectiveness is the nature of the masculine sign. It shows they're going to project. Their basic nature is to project their sign. So when they're confident and they're working, they're projecting their confidence. They're projecting their purpose out in life. When they're not projecting, they're inhibiting their energy a little bit. So they're searching inwardly till they get their confidence back to be able to project again. So simple thing, but important to know each sign. So as you look at a planet in a sign, you have to see what season it's in. Is daylight increasing? Daylight greater? Is daylight greater? Is daylight increasing or darkness increasing? Is daylight greater or is darkness greater? And then is it the light half or dark half of the season? And then are they projecting their energy or reflecting, which is the feminine? So we'll see this, we'll understand them better at the end, but this is the point at which you want to put the masculine and feminine, projective, reflective, right at these early categories. So there is a handout you can download that has this PDF, today's class is on it. Okay, this is the feminine signs. Okay, let me just go back. When we look back at masculine signs, you think about it. Are Aries masculine signs? Yeah. Are Aquarians masculine signs? Cautious, strategic, planning Aquarians? Yes, because they're not as cautious as Capricorns, and they're projecting their ideas. They want to talk. They want to tell you what they want to know, what they know. They want you to hear them and to respect what they have to say. So there is a projecting of their ideas, even though it's a winter sign. In Aries, it's the blatant impulse, so you can easily see the impulsiveness and the projection, even in an impatient way with Aries. And in Geminis, it's an air sign, but you can see they project, they're talking about everything. They're so quick to talk, they're talking their own ideas right away, like Donald Trump. But not that much reflection. Leos, are Leos projective? Do they project who they are? Here I am. Let the bells ring out, let the children cheer. Here I am. Notice me. They'll project to get attention. Libras, the Libras are sort of indecisive. They're not blatant, but they still project so that they get noticed. They project their taste, their quality. They want to be appreciated for their ideas. Aquarians want respect. The Libras want appreciation. And Geminis just want to talk. They want to say what they want to say. So from any direction they can come from. But the Gemini, the Libra, when you think about Libras, you'll see they project. They project their ideas. So this is a seeable. And Sagittarians have the fire sign, but they're mutable. They're trying different things. They'll project new ways, or let's do this, or let's expand to this, or let's take this up, and let's go for this. They have the fire, the enthusiasm, but it's a projective sign. So someone that has their sun in any of these signs is going to project their sense of purpose. So these, by the way, are like, I'm just going to back up one here. When we look at the colors, you see all the colors around, and the dark half is at the Capricorn, and the lighter half is in the spring and summer. So you can see that, but there's a second way of working color that's tied into this. If you're working with colors, there's three basic colors: red, yellow, and blue. These are the fire signs. Then you have the second colors: orange, green, and purple. And they're made by combining, like Gemini, orange is made by combining yellow and red. Green is made by by joining yellow and blue. Purple is made by joining purple and red. So the color spectrum of how colors are made also fits exactly to the zodiac and is one of the determining factors.